What are round liners and why are they the hardest things for beginners to master? In this video, I'm going to teach you everything about round liners. Anything that you can find on the internet regarding this needle will be in this video, so stick around to the end because you're not going to want to miss this. If you're learning how to tattoo and you're struggling to get an apprenticeship, hit the follow and the bell button so you can keep up to date with every single lesson that I put out there. Because my goal is to help you learn how to become a self-taught tattoo artist just like I have in under 6 months. So first we're going to go into what a round liner is and why does it matter. A round liner is made up of multiple needles that are arranged in a circular formation. Because the needles are packed so closely together, the grouping comes to a focused point. That's why round liners are mainly used for line work and outlines. The way you can tell if your needle is a round liner is by looking at the back of the cartridge or on the package of your needles. This is where you will see the symbol RL, which stands for round liner. Round liners come in all sizes, typically ranging from a single needle to 18 needles in one cartridge. And the reason as to why you would pick one of these sizes depends solely on the style of your tattoo. Liners on the shorter scale, from a single needle up to a 5 round liner, are typically used for fine line work, micro realism and stipple shading. These can also be used to create outlines for when doing realism pieces. However, the shading would either be done with a magnum or a 3 round liner. Liners from a 7 round liner up to about a 9 round liner are typically for either illustrative work with bolder line work or American traditional work. And the reason why you would need an even bigger liner is if you're tattooing a bigger piece which requires bigger lines. However, it's always important to make sure that you're using the correct voltage when you're using these liners. Now, your voltage depends all on the hand speed that you're doing, the stroke that your machine is, the size of the needle that you're using, and the technique that you want to apply. For example, if I wanted to do fine detail with a 3 round liner, I would look to lower my voltage to 6 to 6.5 volts and have a consistent hand speed. This is because a 3 round liner is much sharper compared to a 9 round liner. This means it pierces the skin a lot easier. For example, if I'm lining with a 3 round liner, I will probably use a voltage of 6 to 6.5 volts. However, if I'm lining with a 9 round liner, because there's more needles in this cartridge, which means more resistance when trying to pack ink into the skin, I would increase the voltage to around about 7.5 to 8 volts. Round liners are typically not used for shading due to the arrangement of the needles and the trauma that can be caused to the skin by using such a precise needle to either colour in or shade a large area. However, there is an exception to this. With a 3 round liner, if you do decrease the voltage even further to preferably 4.5 and lower the hang of your machine to preferably 2mm, you can use this needle to stipple shade, and this can be done on much bigger pieces, and it's a technique that a lot of professionals do to create amazing realism. When using a round liner to line, you need to make sure that your needle is at the correct angle, preferably just above the 45-degree angle mark, but nothing below that. When choosing the correct round liner, always pay attention to the taper of the needle and pay attention to the diameter. For example, a 12 gauge 3 round liner will produce bolder lines than a 10 gauge 3 round liner. This is because in the 12 gauge, each of the needles have a diameter of 0.35mm, whereas in the 10 gauge, the diameter of each needle is 0.30mm. For obvious reasons, the thicker the needles means that it creates a thicker line, regardless if both of these needles have the same needle count. Additionally, Some entry-level needle brands won't show you the taper of the needle, but more professional brands will show you the taper of your needle. The taper means the length to which your needle gets to its thickest point. So short taper needles would create solid lines, whereas long taper needles would create thinner lines. For lining as a beginner, it's always good to practice the correct needle hang. Now, when you're starting out, you need to make sure you're entering the skin at 1mm to 1.5mm at the most. Any deeper and you risk causing blowout. A good way to learn confidence for needle depth when using a round liner is to start off with a needle hang of around about 1.5 to 2mm. Although this may be similar to riding the tube, this is only temporary for you to build up the muscle memory so you can gain confidence using the correct needle depth. Once you understand the depth that you should be using, it's up to you whether or not you want to increase the needle hang by a millimeter or two. The needle hang that I use for lining is around about 3mm. However, as I've said, when stipple shading, I will lower this to 2mm due to the movement that is required for this technique. So, to quickly sum everything up, a round liner is designed for clean, precise lines in tattooing. The needles are grouped together in a tight circular formation, which allows the machine to create solid, consistent lines. Small round liners like a 3RL or 5RL are usually used for fine details, thin outlines, and smaller designs. Larger round liners like a 7RL or a 9RL create thicker, bolder lines and are often used for traditional or bold styles. The key thing beginners need to focus on is consistency, keeping your hand speed, voltage and needle depth balanced so the line goes in clean without chewing up the skin. Round liners are usually the very first needle grouping beginners learn with because lining is the foundation of most tattoos. If you can master clean lines with a round liner, everything else in tattooing will become so much easier afterwards. So that's really everything you need to know about round liners. If you have any questions, feel free to comment down below and I'll make sure to get back to you as quickly as I can. If you enjoy this video, please make sure to like and follow for more and stick around because in the next video, I'm going to go over Magnum's 101 so you know exactly how to shade and how to pack colour correctly. That's it folks, see you on the flip side.